We're sitting here with Tommie Jo Marsilio, who's running for Portage County Commissioner. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
And how are you today?
I'm great, thank you.
Thank you very much for allowing us to interview you for E-Portage News. Let's start with how old are you?
I'm 37 years old.
Okay. And where were you born?
Huntington, West Virginia.
And how long have you been here in Portage County?
We moved to Portage County when I was in 8th grade.
And so you went through school here as well, through high school?
Yes. I graduated from Garfield High School here in Garrettsville.
Okay. And let's talk about your family. Are you an only child?
I'm not. I have an older sister who lives out of state, who has 2 children, and then a baby sister who's 8 years younger than me who lives in Akron.
And how about your parents?
They're wonderful. My mother is behind me just off camera as we talk, filing. She works here in my law office. My mom is Sandy. My dad is Glenn. They live right here in Portage County in the same house that I grew up in here in my hometown of Garrettsville.
And I take it you're close to your parents?
I am very close to my parents.
Have you always been close to your parents, including growing up when you were a child?
Yeah, we probably, if she were on camera, she'd probably talk about some rough patches in the teen years. But overall, yeah. I think that, you're only as good as the people you surround yourself with. You're only as good and as strong as that. And a lot of people have good parents. I am no exception. I'm very blessed to have not just a mom and dad, but a whole family that surrounds me with support. You can't do something like this without that kind of support. So they're wonderful.
Let's go back a long ways ago, back when you lived in West Virginia, back in grade school.
Sure.
Tell us about grade school.
I think my grade school experience was fairly uneventful. I was quiet, unassuming, which is probably very difficult to believe now, but I was very shy, always got good grades, and I was the kid that the teacher had to ask me to speak up, please, because we can't hear you.
So when you said you were shy, were you weren't a popular child when you were in early grade school?
Not particularly. I mean, I didn't have problems. I had enough friends, but I wasn't at the beginning or the end of the curve in terms of popularity. I was kind of a down the line, maybe lost in the shuffle kind of kid.
Grade school or high school? Any extracurricular activities you were involved in school?
Grade school, not too much. We spent a lot of time as a family my whole growing up years. High school, I got involved in some theater, both community and high school theater projects. I was president of my junior class, so that was fun, a lot of work. I think I did pep club and those kind of things. A lot of interaction with other kids. Growing up in a small school district like Garfield, which I moved to in 8th grade, the teachers know all of the children, and I worked on the school newspaper and did some of those sort of things. So a lot of individual attention in a school district like that. It was a good experience.
You said you were involved in theater.
Yes.
What plays?
Let's see. The one that I actually performed in, the other ones I was involved more behind the scenes, planning, working on sets, was Once Upon a Mattress. I was in the chorus when I was in my freshman year community theater. So.
And what year did you graduate high school?
1991.
How were your grades?
Very good. I graduated in the top, I think I was 4th in my class. Received several scholarships. When I went to college, I did really well at school.
And obviously you're an attorney here in Garrettsville.
I am.
So where did you go for your undergraduate degree?
I did my undergraduate at Youngstown State University. After I was admitted to the Neo-UConn program, I resigned from there, decided to take a different route, and then I went to Capital Law School for my JD in Columbus.
And how were your grades in law school?
I passed. I don't know is the answer to that question. I was not an A student in law school, not close. Never had any academic problems, but I think more like B's and C's than A's and B's.
Did you like law school?
No, not really. It was, it was tedious. It was very demanding, a lot of work. But like anything else that's worth having, you put the work into it and the return is good.
And when you left law school, what was your first position?
I worked for the Ohio Industrial Commission, doing workers' compensation. I actually already worked there before I graduated from law school, and then they hired me on full-time. I had started there as an intern during my law school years and eventually worked my way up to the policy and research coordinator, reporting directly to the chairman.
Okay. Let's talk about your jobs here in Portage County.
Okay.
Specifically, your term as an assistant prosecutor at the
Okay.
prosecutor's office. What was your favorite part of being an assistant prosecutor?
this sounds a little bit like a beauty pageant answer, so I hesitate to give it, but in that job, you have a very genuine opportunity to help people, and that's what I liked. In contrast to the private sector, where you're hired as an attorney and your job is to represent this client, period. As an assistant prosecutor, I worked in the civil division, and one of the opportunities I had was, although I represented management, I represented the county, there was a very real opportunity to sometimes call the attorney for the other side and say, hey, can't we work this out? Do we really need to spend several $1,000s to fix this problem? And I like that. It was an opportunity to, from time to time, cut red tape and just get something done. So I enjoyed that very much.
Okay. What was the worst part of the job?
Very candidly, functioning in the good old boy environment of the courts in Portage County, and having such opposite views of the world with my boss, the elected prosecutor.
Victor Vigalucci.
Victor Vigalucci, yes.
Let's talk about that.
Okay.
On September 18th, 2009, when you were running for municipal court judge, a flyer surfaced that caused quite a controversy.
Yes.
Can you tell us exactly what that flyer said?
Not exactly without looking at it. I can tell you the part that Vic objected to, which I think is the essence of what you're asking. The part that Vic didn't like said that I was not a member of the Good Old Boy Corruption Club.
If I can quote from that flyer.
Sure.
It said, quote, that you weren't, that the good old boys say elect Kevin Poland, and that you're not a member of the Ravenna, quote, Good Old Boys Corruption Club,
That's
as you
right.
said.
Right.
Explain to us what that means.
It means that in Portage County there are two sets of rules. There's a set of rules for the inside crowd, the elite, wealthy, and politically connected, and then there's the rules for the real people. And I believe that's wrong.
Okay. Specifically the word corruption.
Yes.
In that flyer you accused folks of being corrupt. Specifically, who and how do you consider folks that either were in office back then or are in office now corrupt, that are part of that, as you call it, the Good Old Boys Club?
The Good Old Boys Corruption Club. Gosh, I think that we're definitely going to exceed our allotted time to talk about that. But some examples of corruption. Let's back up a little bit further. One of the things that Vic and I have a different ideology on is Vic takes a very, I think, literal and legal view of corruption. He believes on no basis that corruption always means unlawful activity. I don't agree with that. I think corruption means unlawful or other wrongdoing or immoral activity. And so with that in mind, I mean, you don't need to look further than the headlines in the last 2 or 3 years. You know, a county car for a person's own use by a county commissioner, a vote to pay for tuition or put your child's college on the list for tuition. That's a problem. Misspending of county money. Those kinds of things that we've read in the headlines. I read that, and I think most normal people in Portage County do, as corruption. You know, there is this inside crowd. This is not a figment of my imagination, and quite frankly, I think people fall into two categories. Those of us who know there's a good old boy club, and the people that are perplexed by that phrase are probably part of the problem.
You were fired from your position as Portage County Assistant Prosecutor.
Yes.
How did that go about? When did you learn that you were terminated?
Vic told me on a Monday, which was probably the 14th of September, that he did not like my flyer, and it was a proof. It was not circulated. I asked him, okay, what don't you like? He didn't like the word corruption. He wasn't enamored with the phrase Good Old Boy Club, but he said if I would take out the word corruption, he could live with it.